Hi, everyone. Welcome to How to Be a Dungeon Master. I am here with a wonderful guest, Laura Gray, who is a full-time illustrator, a D&D enthusiast, and a games writer for Screen Rant. And managing to do all of those things while also being a new parent, which is shocking. But welcome, Laura.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. It's going to be really exciting to go over some of these topics that I'm personally really enthusiastic about.
I am so excited, and I did read many articles that you have written about Dungeons and Dragons, and I'm like, oh, that would be a good topic, and this would be a good topic. But what you're here to talk about is a recent article that was published by Screen Rant. I get like... I see like hundreds of articles on D&D pop up every day, it seems like. And I read a lot of them, but the headline on your article really struck me. It was how to encourage D&D party bonding in downtime. I'm scrolling back through the article. During downtime.
During downtime, yeah. So for me personally, this topic actually goes back to my hesitation to begin playing D&D a few years ago. I feel like one of the things that I had always been really worried about was that when I heard people talk about Dungeons and Dragons, it was always the combat, you spend hours and hours in combat cycles, you fight these amazing bosses, you go through these dungeons. But I'm a creative writer and comic illustrator, and I've always had a deep love of narrative. So when I first got introduced into the storyline, my first D&D campaign, I homebrewed the whole thing and blew it up. It was awesome. But I learned a lot of really important things right out the get-go that I don't think I would have learned had I been doing a pre-built campaign. And that is the weight and value of roleplay, especially as a new player, when you're still trying to pick up all of the rules, when you might be overwhelmed or intimidated by the vast world you're exploring. And as I've gone on to continue to play as a player and run as a DM, something that's always kind of come back up with new players is I'm really nervous because I don't know what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. How do I get comfortable? I'm nervous to join a party with other experienced players. And I found that encouraging bonding with your party and role play between your characters helps to strengthen that courage in your new players while encouraging cohesiveness and immersion in your long-term player party.
So do you have to give any guidance to the players when are you are they going to be like, why are we alone in the store together?
So yes. And the skill of this is learned. So you have some people who will come in natural thespians. Mm-hmm. They're usually playing bards or wizards. And they are very open and excitable and ready to engage with any opportunity you give them. But then you may have somebody who's playing a barbarian who's a little bit more trying to play that stoic character. So trying to encourage that downtime, what I usually do with new players or in situations where I want that engagement is I put a common puzzle in the space. So in the instance of the camping scenario with the rogue and the cleric, they need a fire. So I'm okay, well, who wants to build the fire? And I try to get two characters to kind of volunteer for certain specifics. The other thing, you can set up, I hate to use the tavern because I think I've written a few pieces now about the tavern being the place to engage. But say you have two characters sitting at a table over dinner and you give them the opportunity to say the bartender walks by and accidentally knocks over the tankard on one of the characters. And is anybody in the party going to come up and engage with them, help them clean up the mess, see if there's a place for them to get straightened up? And this sounds like such tedious stuff, but in the moment it goes by so quickly. And then these characters have that opportunity to engage in conversation. In characters who've been playing in campaigns that I run, and they're used to this play style, I've actually found that after about 4 or 5 sessions, they'll notice when I'm giving them the opportunity to engage, and they will take it usually.
Oh, okay.
So, for example, the party is headed to a new town. They've just finished an encounter. They have 40 minutes of walk time to the next location. And I'll say something like, all right, so you guys are about 40 minutes out. Does anybody have anything that they're looking at, and I'll give them a chance to kind of engage in their surroundings, engage in each other, or I'll point out that the weather's particularly chilly or rainy, and like these give them kind of prompts for their character to react. This also goes back to the piece I wrote about encouraging character role play.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of people are fond of immersion and playing as their character in their character with a character voice. And this opportunity actually originated from that, encouraging players to use their character voice instead of saying, well, my character walked over here and my character walked over there, saying, Bell noticed that it was particularly wet and cold. He draws his cloak more around him, but the fabric is very thin. And my character, encouragement has helped bring the role players out of the role players. Like people who start out really, really shy, by the end of a first arc are usually pretty bold and engaging with their surroundings and the other players that they are in the party with.
So, yes. All right. I like this. I'm asking this a lot because I know later this month, my husband and I are going to be playing D&D with 3 new people.
Who goodness, that's a big new party.
There's I have, my husband will DM, and me and another guy are experienced, and then there's the 3 newbies, and they're all very eager to, like, as adults, which I love. They're like, I've always wanted to play, nobody's ever asked me, or I didn't know how. Like, we're here for you. Great. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to think, like, a lot of times with that downtime or like in combat, I feel like they kind of get it. They're excited to roll dice. They're excited to see what's going to happen. But it's those moments in between that I know are going to happen that I want to like, I'm picking your brain to see how I can, get them to bond.
Yeah.
And I think when you tell people, like, well, you can literally do anything, then that's when
so overwhelmed.
They're like, so having maybe like a prompt is just enough to get their wheels turning. Maybe.
Well, something that I like to do too is I like to have my players roll an investigation check on their party members.
Oh.
So this allows them to see things that I, as the DM, may only know, or the player themselves who's running the character only knows, like that this fabric is made out of linen that's not from anywhere you've ever been, or you notice that this character has a scar on their cheek that you didn't notice before while you were traveling.
Oh, and it allows that.
Yeah, it allows the character to engage and ask questions. And that is a very quick way to engage 2 characters in dialogue with each other.
Oh, that's really cool. So that's also like, there's enough of a prompt. Ask about the scar, and then
it gives them just like a little nudge.
Yeah, that I think is just usually what they need to get there.
Yeah.
And now that
the
other character gets to have a time to share a little bit more of their backstory, perhaps.
Yes, and like kind of add that flavor that allows people to relate to their character. The other thing that I like to do is when they're in a space, I like to ask somebody how their character is behaving in a crowded location. If you've got like a drow who's never been in super populated areas outside of the Underdark, and they're suddenly in a tavern filled with boisterous bards and people talking and things clanking, how do they feel about that? Are they, pulling the collar of their shirt up? Are they pulling the lip of their hat down? Maybe they're lingering by the door trying to get out, and a party member notices, wow, you look super uncomfortable. Do you want to step outside?
Oh.
And then they can go into like, yeah, I have really bad social anxiety because I've not ever been around this kind of a group of people before. And it gives that chance to connect on a human level.
Yeah. And that's where the empathy comes in real life, which is why, it's good for kids to be, those are great things to also employ when you're playing with kids, to give them the opportunity to like recognize somebody is in trouble and here's how I can help that person.
And then they have that opportunity to really connect. And I think that like, I don't know about you, but when I first started playing, there was a lot of everybody is secular. They're doing their own thing. They're in their own head. They're not connecting. And then when we started implementing some of these engagement tactics, the cohesion went up. But something else that I noticed was that in character battle tactical skills went up. They began engaging in a way where they were working together during combat instead of just like, Final Fantasy VII waiting for their turn to hit, suddenly they were like, oh, wizard, use your earth molding spell and make a pothole. Or, oh my goodness, you have Misty Step, get behind that person. And they started engaging in this group tactical kind of game plan. When we were playing Curse of Strahd, my wife was actually running the campaign. And so much of Barovia is pay attention to your surroundings, use what you've got. You don't have a lot. So we got to a point where in every single encounter, the team was working together to utilize our barbarian's strength, our bard's boosts, our wizards. I was playing what we like to call a garbage wizard at the time. He would use whatever he had and some evocation magic and hope something came out that was useful. And then we had a drow. Oh goodness, I am totally spacing her class right now. That is terrible. Oh, Warlock. Thank you, dear. My wife was listening. But yeah, so we were all working together using these skills that we each had to bolster, recover, and survive. And it created, especially in the Curse of Strahd, a very unique narrative in which the characters all became very attached to each other. And so much so to the point that when things start going wrong and like stuff starts to get quite dark, it was emotionally traumatizing to think we could lose one of our characters in this party. Because we were all like, oh my gosh, they all have to get out of here, but there's a really good chance you're not, it's a very heavy campaign. There's a very good chance of full total party kill near the end.
Yeah.
So like, it added a whole new level of like weight. The stakes were so much higher and it was awesome. Like as a player, it was just, every session was just, you were on the edge of your seat with everybody there with you. And the best part was we have a player who's always playing remote. And so even when we're all, sitting on screens, it felt like we were all in the room with each other because our characters were all there together.
Oh, that's really great.
And it was built through that party bonding experience.
That's amazing. And it is a whole different game when that connection between players and between characters does exist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I did read a lot of, of your other Screen Rant articles. And I know there's a lot of other really good topics in there. So would love to have you come back as a guest.
I would be delighted to come back and speak to you about these things. It's an area that I really am very passionate about and I'm excited to share with other people.
Well, you're great at sharing. So thank you. So in case people haven't read this amazing article we keep referencing and want to read more of your work, where's the best place for people to find out more about you, about your writing, about your illustrating?
So you can find anything that I write on Screen Rant. So if you just type in Laura Gray, Screen Rant, my tag will pop up. I cover D&D, I cover Pokemon. I do quite a lot of Animal Crossing if you're at all interested in finding out what cool things Animal Crossing should add. Most of my updates come near the weekend. So if you're looking for new content, it usually comes right around a Saturday. You can also find me at my Twitter handle. I believe it's just my screen name. Let me look real quick. Laura Gray Holt. And I post articles that I'm particularly interested in myself there. So things that I want to share and have been taking the time to like build up over because, don't want to like flood my Twitter screen. My illustration handle is actually Apollo's Celtic Swan. You can find that at Instagram. I do almost exclusively D&D art right now.
Ooh, nice.
I have lots of character portraits and stuff. It's pretty cartoony, not for everybody, but I sure enjoy it. And then you can find some of my published work in the children's section of various local bookstores here in Idaho.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, I work with a lot of nonprofits to help bolster women's services and spread the awareness for diversity inclusion.
That's amazing. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. My art is almost entirely geared towards diversity awareness.
Fantastic. Gosh, another reason to love you and your work.
Oh, thanks.
Okay, very cool. Everyone definitely check out Laura's work. There is a lot of great advice there, and we're definitely gonna have to have you back. I am excited to talk to you more.
I would absolutely love to come back, and you guys just let me know when, and I will be here.
Sounds good. And I know as a new parent, I totally appreciate you taking the time. And although it's probably kind of a nice break from,
I always miss him, but my wife is being very sweet and hanging out with him right now. So
well, we'll let you get back to him.
I'm going to go give him a squeeze.
All right. Give him a squeeze from us too.
Okay, I will. Thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you.